Right, we appear to be streaming, so welcome back. Yeah, sorry for that little interruption. That was an important call. Yes, so moving on. Right, I quite appreciate that Lonnie is now the leader of the 110th, and yeah, it's this thing of like he clearly does have some morals, so I guess they really are going to try to protect the neighborhood as a number of gangs do claim. So yeah, that's very interesting. Let's see. I think that does right. Peter's dad is in prison, and it didn't seem like Peter himself knows that that's the case. So that's also, yeah, looking forward to following up on the show, following up on that. Same thing for Nico. You know, bringing back her mom through the yeah, and the Venom symbiote, which yeah, so when we saw it come through the portal, the little splotch of it, I thought, oh, that attaches itself to Peter. But instead, Norman spots it, and we don't see exactly what happens there, if it attaches to him, or if he's gonna study it, or what exactly. But yeah, definitely opens up some story possibilities for the next season. Yeah, I think that does basically right. Yeah, I like the conversation between Stephen and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man afterwards, right before he ports out. And yeah, that does just leave us the the entire section with it was really cool, this thing of yeah, this is closer to the Norman we know from the comics. He I appreciate that it is still it's still there's still a lot of like real life supervillain going on, unless like cartoon supervillain, because yeah, he's being irresponsible with technology he doesn't fully understand, and it causes a lot of problems. I don't know, it sounds so familiar. I feel like there's something like that going on, like literally right this moment. So yeah, I don't know how they probably didn't expect it to be quite this prescient, but yeah, like he's not quite the Norman from the comics. He is closer to and the fact that he didn't ask them. He's using the interns' inventions against their will. And let's see, yeah, amazing fight. And I'm really glad when they had the symbiote fight in the very first episode, I was a little bit worried. Is this really going to be? Are they just throwing that in there to like to see we're fans of the comics now? Get off our back about symbiotes. Is it going to be forever before we see another symbiote? And thankfully, that was not the case. Let's see. Then we have the what was the other thing? Yeah, the teamwork was great, and they do the trope of Spider-Man having to kick the generator or punch the nuclear missile to make it work. Nuclear reactor. It's been some years since I played that game. Okay. That might be about. Right. I like that Cho is like, so what? All the property damage and danger. I'm still gonna work for Norman. And yeah, it is revealed that Jean is. I already forgot her name. There's so many characters on the show. I mean, no disrespect, but she has a superhero identity also, and I believe this was what Nando V Movies said in one of his videos on an earlier episode. So, yeah, very cool that that's the case. Yeah, just really solid season finale. You know, amazing action, very interesting story threads. It leads into future stories in a way that has us wondering exactly what's going to happen, whilst knowing just enough. Like, even if, you know, I think there's people who might not have been sold on a lot of this season. Knowing the fact that there's going to be symbiote stuff coming up might have them on board, you know. So, yeah. Yeah. Really, really strong showing. Looking forward to the next season. I hope that the release schedule will be less awkwardly staggered than this one was. But, yeah. And I'm not going to have to wait very long to see more Daredevil. I feel like that's just over a week or something before we get that, so that's very cool. Although not exactly the same version as here. Oh, right, The Watcher made a brief appearance, so yeah. That was also pretty cool, and yeah, right. Very cool seeing, I'm afraid I forget the name of it, but the homeworld, the symbiote homeworld, just briefly, and the massive thing, you know, and they push that about as far as they can on a show that 7-year-olds are supposed to be able to watch, you know, and they do the same thing for the Dark Dimension. Like, Peter's actually in there for, you know, not very many seconds, but enough that, like, a 7-year-old's going to be like, oh, you know, wow, but not, like, nightmares to the point where, like, parents are writing in, you know, how could you? So, yeah. I'm going to try to do the spoiler-free review of Season 1 pretty soon. We'll see exactly when. So until then, see ya.